It was a tough night for me, to say the least, calling fights. Let's go into this card quick, and then we'll get more into detail in the later fights. I had John McGessie against Francisco Trinaldo. Trinaldo beat him via decision. Then I had Nikita Krylov, Johnny Walker. I picked Johnny Walker. I thought he was going to make a triumphant return, it was going to be statement win, excuse me, and everybody's talking about him again, because originally, just not that long ago, we were talking about he's the guy to dethrone John Jones, and now, 2 back-to-back bad losses, one via knockout, and this one being a very boring decision loss to Nikita Krylov. It was no joke, but for someone that we're talking that was going to potentially dethrone John Jones, it's kind of a big loss. If I'm in his camp, I want him to take some time off. He didn't look that great at all this fight, like really, really bad. He looked really bad, honestly. If you didn't see his highlights before that, you would think this guy does not belong in the UFC. I think he should take his time off and really, really work on his techniques and stuff like that, because he has all the athletic ability in the world, and I believe he was relying too much on that in his previous fights. It worked, but I mean, when you get to a certain level, you're gonna need to know what you're doing in there, and he just didn't seem like he knew what he was doing on the ground with Nikita Krylov. Renato Moicano, Damir Hadzovic was the only fight I called correct. Renato Moicano was a beast, and I called that fight. He had a really, really impressive win over Damir Hadzovic in the first round. I think it was 45 seconds in, he rear naked choked him. Very impressive. Then Damian Maia, Gilbert Burns. Honestly, if you give me this fight 10 out of 10 times, before knowing the result of this one, I still probably would have picked Damian Maia, I don't know, 7 out of the 10 times. I just believe in Damian Maia's ability, and he looked good on the ground at first. I mean, obviously Gilbert Burns is no joke there as well, but I still would take Damian Maia on those exchanges. But the younger guy, way more explosive than Damian Maia. He looked really, really good. I think Gilbert Burns should get a big name now. I mean, Damian Maia was a big one already, but I think he should get something big. Because, when you look at his last, I think he has 3 losses. When you look at his losses, I think his last one, I forget what I think. Something tells me Dan Hooker. Can I be totally wrong with that? Let me just check that quick for you guys. Yeah, his last loss came to Dan Hooker, UFC 226. In 2018. Then, after that, he beat Olivier Aubert-Mercier, Mike Davis, finished him, Alexei Kunchenko, Gunnar Nelson, and now Damian Maia. So he looked really, really good in this fight. I think a big name is well-deserved now. Then moving on to very disappointing Kevin Lee, Charles Oliveira. Disappointing for me because I'm a Montreal guy, and Kevin Lee obviously trains up at Montreal and TriStar. So it was disappointing for me, but you got yourself a star in Charles Oliveira, man. I don't, you looking at him, cardio, okay, but you take that away, man. Nate, show me the hole in his game. Exceptional ground game. Looked like a world beater in this fight, honestly. Kevin Lee is, you're talking about a guy who submitted Michael Chiesa, right? So that's very impressive what Charles Oliveira was able to do. Kevin Lee tends to get caught in these things, and I think he was saying that he wants to take 2 years off. I think him and Johnny Walker should both do that, right? Because both of them have all the athletic talent of the world. Both of them are very young. So I don't see a downside in taking a couple of years off. Kevin Lee's had some bad losses. Johnny Walker's obviously coming off of 2 bad losses. What more can you say about that, right? Take some time off, really work on your stuff, on yourself, on your mental game, because Kevin Lee seems to be tapping out to things, getting himself caught in things. So, other than that, it was a tough night all around for me picking fights. Hopefully I'll do better on the next card.